The quiet day. Does
A
that mean
quiet
everyone's
day.
ready for the weekend? I think so.
Let's see what's happening in that chat, guys. Where's everyone coming from? We'll start with there because that's an easy one.
Where are you dialing in from?
Use that chat. Okay, Wilmington,
Oh,
Delaware.
Delaware,
Nice. Hey,
yes.
Adam.
Hey, Adam. Nice to see you again. Steve over in Lexington. Nice.
Like it. Are you guys all right?
Washington,
Oh, good.
Teaneck.
We're in Jersey, Allen. So how about this question now that we're used to using the chat? Anyone here using AI already? If so, throw it in the chat. We'd love to hear it. All right, George, great. How are you guys using it? I see somebody's AI note taker is in the room, fireflies.ai. So
Love that.
somebody's using it. We'll talk about that later.
Any takers?
No takers? Well, that's why you're here.
That's all right. We're going to talk about how we use AI.
Okay, criminal defense depot ideas. That's great.
Awesome. That's a really specific use case. Wow, dear
we
questions. Love
talked about
that.
So guys, we are going to get started in a couple minutes. We have a 30-minute jam-packed, high energy, fast-paced webinar to go through. This is our 201 edition. We will do a mini recap, but we do want to make sure that we get you guys new content, new information. Everything here will be recorded, sent to you. You will get a PDF of all the helpful information. This is a very interactive webinar, so we do encourage you to speak up, ask questions. And next week, we're going to be doing a different series. So this is the last time we're doing this 201 platform.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be starting, we'll be doing a different model. We'll do an Ask Me Anything.
Yep.
So more to come on that, but I guess we can give it another 30 seconds or
Yeah.
so, and then we'll dive in.
And don't be shy, turn on the camera, turn on your microphone. Again, this is a very informal, interactive. We feel the best way to learn is to have conversations and learn from each other. AI is moving so fast that the presentation we did last week has been outdated. So it'd be great to get your feedback and ideas as we go through all of this.
Awesome. George, I love all the use cases you have. We're going to highlight some of those in just a minute.
Yeah.
I like those.
The video ideas, that's good. Oh, there we go.
Awesome. All right. Guess we could get it started then.
Yeah, it's a quiet group. All right, video script. So that's a great.
That's perfect too.
So as I said, welcome to our AI webinar 201. Anyone here join our 101? Put a 1 in the chat if you came to our 101 webinar. All right.
Awesome.
We got, okay,
great.
Good. So again, don't think that you're going to be so far behind because the content is different. So, you know, you won't get too lost.
Absolutely. And if you didn't catch our 101 webinar, we have that available on YouTube. So we'll send you over that link as well, so you can get to see that in depth.
But video. Let's do a mini recap to get everyone on the same page and let's get rocking. So
awesome.
Let's talk about the team. So as I said earlier, my name is Colleen Joyce. I am the president here at Lawyer.com. I'm joined with 2 colleagues here today, one next to me, the wonderful and talented Annie. Annie works on the AI product team. You cannot see our amazing tech team. They are working on AI right now. And new to joining this webinar series is Chad. Chad, welcome. Chad is not only an expert in legal marketing, but he's also an expert in AI growing your business. So Chad has joined the Lawyer.com fam. He's been with the fam for a while, but he's joining our webinars from here on out. So we welcome you, Chad.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right. And our last member. Anyone know who our last member is? Put it in the chat. Come on, guys. Who's our last team member?
We have some return guests, so you might remember.
Come on. Oh, ChatGPT.
It is. Should we call out Chad for his little fun fact about ChatGPT?
Yes. Chad,
kick us off with the light note.
Yeah. What is your fun fact about ChatGPT, Chad?
My fun fact
about what is your license plate?
Yeah, my license plate is Chad GPT. So it's a good way to remember that.
So from here on out, we're just going to call you Chad GPT.
There you go.
Done. All right. Well, thank you. You've met the team. Now let's dive right into the recap real quick. So in our 101 webinar, we talked about the different types of AI, prompts, tips, and tricks. So we're just going to quickly jump into those real quick to refresh you. And again, don't worry, we have all this up on YouTube if you want to go and watch yourself.
Awesome. So we'll dive into one of the meatier topics first. We have types of AI. So we've got generative AI versus diffusion AI. Before we go into that further, we are going to do a fun little trivia time with a chance to win an Amazon gift card. So just to point out here on the left-hand side is where you can find the chat box if you are on the web app version of Zoom, and on the right is if you are on the mobile app version.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So you see this lovely picture on the right. Is this an example of generative AI or diffusion AI? All right, let's see. We had Tim George saying generative. We have RC saying diffusion. Adam diffusion, Gray generative. So we're across the board. The correct answer is diffusion AI. So RC, you are correct. You are the winner there by getting it in fastest.
So why is it diffusion?
Great question. So generative AI is what we typically see a lot about in the news. So that's ChatGPT. Those are those engines that you feed in language and it gives you more language. So it gives you, it takes a text that you have, it scans the internet and it gives you a new text. Diffusion, on the other hand, starts with something random and creates something beautiful out of nothing, pretty much. So that picture you saw is an example of diffusion that was created using Midjourney. I like to think of diffusion AI as when you've got like a slab of clay and then you create a nice little face afterwards when you're sculpting it. It's something that you start with something not so pretty and it creates something really beautiful at the end. Ideally, something beautiful.
Ideally, it depends who's making it.
Right.
All right, tips and tricks. This is my favorite. So let's dive in and talk about all the different cool things that you can do with ChatGPT.
Absolutely. And just as a recap, we will have this in the PDF that we'll send over to you. So you don't have to write these down. We will have all these tips included.
So when you're creating your prompt, right? The prompt is when you're telling ChatGPT, hey, I need this. You want to be detailed. Tell it, hey, I need it, the tone, I need the conversation. You need to be stern if you're writing a demand letter. I will say yesterday, I gave ChatGPT about 4 or 5 emails that I had composed to the team. And I said, learn my style and then read what I wrote and then write me something that I would say. And I have to say, it was pretty good and I didn't write it. So again, as detailed as you are, the better your output would be.
And just to go on that, Colleen, just before, because I imagine we might have some people wondering, how did you feed those emails into ChatGPT? Did you copy and paste them in?
So
or did you...
in this one, I did copy and paste them in. I went through kind of like the team raw emails, copy and paste, boom, boom, boom. I know we're going to talk about plugins later because I did try the plugin. So we'll talk about that later.
Awesome. One of the other tips that we put in, just like how we mentioned with details, with having the tone including, putting those the contextual details in the prompt can be really helpful. So if you put in who the draft is for, who the draft's against, what the accident details were, obviously we recognize personally identifiable information is something that we just want to be really careful with disclosing on the internet. But whatever you're comfortable putting in there, those details can help create an output that you don't have to edit as much in the end, which is really great.
Really, it's great. I love this one.
Favorite one. So ending a prompt with TLDR. TLDR, for anyone who's not familiar, it stands for too long, didn't read. It's for those times when you get those really lengthy paragraphs. The emails are really long and you wish it was just 1 or 2 bullet points.
Yes.
So a cool thing in ChatGPT is that when you insert your prompts, you can put TLDR at the end. And that means that the response that you're going to get back is going to be much more succinct than the other option you would have gotten had you not included that in. So instead of looking at 4 paragraphs, we're looking at 1 paragraph.
Yeah.
Amazing. Another favorite.
Another favorite.
Prefacing search prompts with Eli 5, which brings me to another trivia question.
We love our trivia, guys.
Awesome. All right. First one in the chat. Who knows what Eli 5 means? Any takers?
Eli 5. We've talked about this a few times.
Let's see. Yep.
That's great.
Great. Yes.
All right. Well, I think we're going to give it to Greg.
Yeah, great. You got it. Explain it like I'm 5. That's correct. So you are, and Todd, you're correct too. So what Eli 5 does when you preface a prompt with that, it is going to explain the prompt back in a way that is super easy to understand. So instead of getting something that's college level reading, you're going to get it that's age 5 reading or age 1.
which is helpful. So if you're thinking like, how am I going to use this?
Mhm.
One, if you're trying to read something or understand it yourself, you can water it down, or maybe you need to water down what you're trying to say to your client so that they could understand it better. I know that I use Eli 5 all the time.
Right? I think a lot of it too, when you have a client coming in, maybe you notice that the email you're about to send out has a lot of legal jargon in
Yeah.
it, and you want to figure out a way that you can make it be more succinct. So that way, it's easy to understand for the layperson. And so that is something that's a really great tip that you can add that in.
I like Michael's comment. So Mike, I'm Eli 5. Whenever Annie says something, I'm like, hey, can you Eli 5 that for me, please? So we will go into that, and I will Eli 5 that for you. So don't worry. So anytime
Great
you guys
question.
want us to like slow down or be like, this is way over my head, just say Eli 5 and we'll know exactly what you mean.
I love that. Oh, another great tip. So
Yes.
I noticed up earlier, George had mentioned that he was using it to write jury questions, demand letters. So these are all examples of what you can do with ChatGPT. So as mentioned before, personal identifiable information, we recommend redacting your documents before you ask it questions or put any details that could really identify your client. But if you want to get the bare bones of something started, this is a great way to get that mundane, tedious task started and kind of clear out some of your bandwidth throughout your day. So you can focus more on doing the smaller details versus having to write the whole draft of it yourself.
Now, has anyone used ChatGPT since watching the 101? Have you used it to write jury questions, to play around with demand letters or contracts? All right, nice, Todd.
Awesome.
Yes, that's what we like to see.
Were you impressed with what you got? Oh, no worries at all, George.
Oh, 90. I would like it to be 90 degrees.
Yeah, it's a little chilly in Jersey today.
Yes. George, we're coming to you. We're going to move in.
I've been using it to pick up, in essence, like light legal research or things that I have to go to pick up statutes or jury instructions. It might take me 10 or 15 clicks. It's quicker and more efficient to get it through chat.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. Thank you for sharing that. It's really helpful when we see use cases in our community, because then we know, okay, well, it's working for him. Let me try it. And we really drove this home in our 101 seminars. Your competition is using it, right? Like you're already using it. If you're not using it, you are behind the 8 ball and you don't want to.
I haven't started doing them yet. I'm waiting till I get into my new office, but it's really great for coming up with catchy social media ad topics, social media ad scripts. You can ask it, for instance, what are the top 10 trending topics in criminal defense? It'll give you news updates on, well, that's not true because it's not up to 2023. I wish it would do that, but it'll give you like catchy trending topics that have performed well in the past for other.
We look forward, when once you're settled in your new office, we're going to feature you in our webinar to see what it is that you've been doing. Let everybody see it, because again, we're a community and we're learning from each other, from our successes and our failures, obviously, because we have a few of those.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing is play around with it.
Yeah.
I used it to, I had a client email me a question, and I used it to start my answer to the client's email. I said, please draft a response to this client email.
Yeah.
And I throw in the email, and then it generated a response. And then I need to edit that response to make sure that I'm not hallucinating law.
Sure.
But it certainly it saved me from having to do that first draft. Now I can just go in there and start perfecting stuff.
Absolutely. We say that you're getting the shell. They're not delivering you the final product. But if you don't, and sometimes the hardest part is like
getting started.
Yeah, you just see the blinking cursor, like where do I freaking begin?
Yep.
So this is a great way to just jump right into that.
Yeah, that analysis paralysis. You're waiting to send something out. You have to get started on a task. You've got a deadline, but you don't know where to start. And this gets you started.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. So we wanted to start off with a quote that came up. We read it in the Washington Post that I think is really interesting to think of. So Colleen mentioned that flashing icon. So it's important to note mindset of the developers who created ChatGPT. They created it to create the next most likely sequence of words, not true statements. So when you see that icon flashing, that means that ChatGPT is scanning the entire internet for what is the most likely next word to come in this sentence, given the parameters that you've given it.
Right.
It's a lot of probability. On the back end, developers can toggle, they can make it be more risky, less risky.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what impacts how some websites, when you see it put out, sometimes they have really robust answers. Some are a little more buttoned up, a little more, I can't advise you on this, this, or this.
Yeah.
And some are a little more daring and give more advice. But that is something to think about, is that it's not necessarily designed to create something true. It's designed to create the next most logical sentence.
Yes. And that's how hallucinations begin to occur.
Absolutely. Yes. And George, I love that, to write responses to Google reviews.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
a great
great use
one.
case of it.
It's fantastic because I'll tell it, keep the response under 50 words, 100 words, 200 words. I'll tell it, write it at a 6th grade level, 7th grade level. I've experimented with having it, optimized for SEO.
Yep, that's excellent.
Absolutely.
I feel like Airbnb people should be using that, because I see these Airbnb reviews when the owners respond and I'm like, no, don't say that.
Yeah,
So it's a nice way to keep a mild tone to keep everybody happy.
absolutely.
Just the Google review response, the time it takes for me to get chat to do it, that one thing alone is worth the $20 a month it costs me.
Yeah. No, so you're on board. That's great.
I also had it draft a nice letter to a client who owed me a couple $1,000,
Nice.
answering their question. And I literally said, I need a draft letter to a client who owes me a couple $1,000, but also answering their question.
Great.
That's a great use case for it.
That's really excellent. Wow.
I love that.
Nice job, Todd. I really like that. All right. So money talks. We all know it.
It does. So let's see. Something that came up from our friend Elon Musk, explain limitations related to ChatGPT in an interesting way. So GPUs at this point are considerably harder to get than drugs. So for those of you who might not be familiar and are making that face, like Elon, and wondering, what are you talking about? To take a step back, GPUs are microchips. They are what are embedded in most technology today. As you likely remember from the past year and a half, they have been in a shortage. They're priced at a high premium in order to get. It has contributed to used car shortages, shortages across the entire world.
Yeah.
And the reason they're relevant is that AI, and specifically ChatGPT, run on GPUs. That is the lifeblood that powers them. So something to consider. In 2015, OpenAI was a nonprofit. They wanted to get into this for the greater good and help everyone use their products. In 2019, they shifted to a for-profit model, which might make you wonder why. So it was really a funding need. It was not, I don't believe, anything other than they needed the funding to access and support the computing costs at that scale. For context, right now, OpenAI is spending $700,000 a day for the general public to be able to use the free ChatGPT 3 model. So if you were to go into ChatGPT and log in and sign up and just start using it right away, you are contributing to that $700,000 a day deficit that they're happy to pay. Why? Because you're getting familiar with their product,
Absolutely.
You're getting the word out there, you're being a great evangelizer for what AI can do.
Yes.
And so something to think about is that the market share for AI specifically is supposed to be 1.87 trillion by the end of 2030. So 700K is
Nothing.
chump change compared to
Yes.
that. It is not much. And so it's part of why, though, OpenAI has started to make a pitch to have people sign up for the plus version, like
Yep.
George mentioned. So for the plus version, it is $20 a month for ChatGPT Plus. That gets you on the newer model and access to plugins, which we're going to talk about in
Yep.
just a little bit. So there are some perks that come with it, as well as being faster to compute.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about mobile app. Anyone put a 1 in if you've downloaded the mobile app? Anybody yet?
Well, that's a really great fact to know, Michael. Yeah, they're modified for profit. Yep. So
Okay. All right. We got one person with mobile app. All right. So here we're just going to talk about, again, this is new as of May. So in November, the desktop launches last November, and in May, ChatGPT app released. So I will say, I've made this mistake myself. Make sure when you're at the App Store, you're downloading the official ChatGPT app. you will see a lot of imposters, shall we say? So you want to make sure that you're using the official app. Why do you want to use the official app? Because that means that your 24/7 legal assistant is constantly always with you. So what you're searching on desktop, boom, when you walk out to court or you go to dinner or you go anywhere, it's all that search history is there right with you, which is so, so important to be able to sync that information.
Absolutely, especially if you're out too. I think if you have to go take a lunch and you're
Yeah.
doing a really robust search and you want to share it with colleagues while
Yeah.
you're out, you can suddenly just pull it right back up really
Which,
quickly.
I mean, we're sharing this like crazy these days. So definitely love that. Oh, so for now, guys, it's ad free. Like Google used to be ad free. So we'll see how long it stays ad free. And another cool feature is they have the whisper. Anyone talk to text in this crowd? Me.
I love
So it's a great feature while you're, on the go. You can say, hey, listen, I need you to draft me jury questions for the criminal case of X, Y, and Z. And then boom, while you're driving, after you've safely put the phone down, when you get to your location, you'll have some good questions. Which is
awesome.
well
Really
worth the
fantastic.
download. It's free, so do it.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, good one.
So something that's important to look at, the times you don't want to go viral. So we wanted to highlight this case that you have likely seen in the news in the past month that is specifically talking about the legal space and AI and hallucinations. And so we wanted to highlight a case where an attorney had unfortunately submitted to the court some false citations for a specific reason. We'd like to liken it to when you put on a helmet before you ride a bike. You want to take some safety steps to ensure that you're protecting yourself so that you're staying as safe as possible. And so in that, we want to advise that whenever you use ChatGPT to do any type of legal research and pull up case information, always double check.
Yeah.
Always double check your sources. Look for those primary and secondary sources that show the case docket, that show that it is actually a real case, because it's easy to get a false citation from ChatGPT that sounds convincing. So sometimes it can sound so real, which is unfortunately what happened to this attorney, that he had no idea that the false citation existed, and the defense team actually was who caught it. And so it's a reminder that if you've got that Lexus or that Westlaw or just you put that info in the case docket number and search and see what comes up. If you get no results, there is a chance that that could have been a false case cited.
I will say kind of the caveat to this is that yes, it sucks what happened, obviously, probably more than sucks. But what we don't want to have happen is everyone to get discouraged, because I feel like when this came out, the community as a whole was like, I knew it, we're not using this. But AI is not only here to stay, but it's here to evolve how we operate. So it's really important to understand that it's not perfect, and we just have to make sure that we've got our helmet on when we're using it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think leaning on those resources that you used prior to having AI, I think back of
course,
you're in law school, what was the order of operations your professors told you and how to go through and check those sources. Still keep that. This is that early start, like we mentioned before, like Todd and George mentioned, this gets us started, and that's the extra steps we take afterwards.
Yeah, see, I love it. George said, I'm going to start and then I'm going to fast case. But that's, this is us teaching you the tools to use. And once you know how to use them, you're ready to go.
I haven't explored it fully yet at all.
Yeah, okay.
With what I do, I'll enter in some facts from a traffic stop when I'm trying to challenge the stop for purposes of a motion to suppress. And it will give me a really good couple cases or a couple issues that I can then further explore.
Great.
Awesome.
That's
I love
awesome.
that idea.
That's
yeah.
great.
So using it together with other products too. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not the be all end all, but it's a great B start. It's a great start to get started with everything. Ooh, a great topic here. So before we dive into the aspects of ChatGPT plugins, how many, where they are, and how you can access them, we wanted to give a quick overview of what a plugin is.
Yes.
So just like we are familiar with the App Store right now on your iPhone or on your Android, you can go into the App Store or Google Play Store and download an app from a third party that they're putting out a product that you can use. ChatGPT plugins are apps that are similar to being downloaded like you would from an app store.
Yep.
But they're going to be embedded right into ChatGPT. So suddenly you're not using it on your phone, you're using it within this ChatGPT search engine. And so why that's important is it takes the technology from these other companies and it lets you use it without ever having to go to that company. You're just using the same space you've been using this whole time. It's just an extra leg up to make it be fancier.
And we will say that as of this week, they are going to be in ChatGPT launching an app store within GTP. Now, whether there's going to be pay apps in there, unsure, but it's coming. It's going to be the app store, but in ChatGPT.
Yeah, this is the latest news.
It's going to be paid apps.
Yeah.
We know that.
We are very much surmising that they're going to try to make a pretty penny off of those plugins.
Yes.
But for right now, there are a ton that are available for free. A lot of these companies are getting their names out there, which brings us to another trivia question.
So I will say, if you've seen this question before, it's changed.
It's been updated since
So
even
the
last
question,
week.
the question is how many verified plugins does ChatGPT currently have? Not ChatGPT, ChatGPT. Add your answers in the chat, guys. 370. That's good.
365. That's a good guess. 9.
Okay, he's going the prices right.
Right. Yep.
So I see what you're doing, Todd.
11. So we've got different ends of the spectrum. We've got some that are I think maybe
170.
170, mid pack
50.
50. Awesome. 200.
Couple
All right.
more.
Any more takers? It looks like it's going to go to Adam.
Nice job, Adam.
So we are currently sitting at 422 verified plugins at ChatGPT store right now. So when you go in, and we are going to show you on this next slide of how to download a plugin.
So
This
how
might-
many plugins were added in the last week?
I think over 150.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
150 in
about
just a
there.
week.
approximately. Yeah, it's flying fast and they're coming out with a lot really quickly.
Wow.
So we wanted to walk you through how you download a plugin and enable it. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to chat.openai.com. Not .com, sorry, you're going to just chat.openai. And you want to make sure that you are on the ChatGPT 4 version. You have to be a Plus subscriber in order to be able to access this. You're going to hover over the plugins over on the right. So when you make sure that ChatGPT 4 is selected, you're going to hover over it, and you're going to make sure that that plugin is selected on. So when this comes up, you'll see this is going to open up in this little demo video. It's going to open up the plugin store. And so you could search for categories. You could click all, definitely click all, and you'll see there's a whole bunch available there. I made the mistake of not knowing there was an all there for a little bit. And you can just install whatever you'd like. So whenever you want to use that plugin, you just want to make sure that it's toggled on, that it's checked off. And then suddenly it's going to make sure that it's trying that out, that technology out while you're doing your search. Awesome. I love that idea, George. We're going to take note on that. Awesome.
Yep. Love
So something to note is that you can do a max of 3 plugins at a time. You might be wondering, why do I want to do 3? Why do I need to do more than 1? The reason you might want to do more than 1 is because they can work really well together pretty seamlessly. So you could use, for example, say you're going on a business trip and you need to find a flight to Arizona. And so you're going to use Kayak. You were going to go on that website anyway. So why not just use ChatGPT, search for a flight. And while I'm at my hotel in Arizona, I need to go to a restaurant because I need to eat. So I'm going to use OpenTable at the same time, ask if there's any good dinner reservations near this hotel that you're recommending that I could get.
You
And
fall
then
in love with Arizona.
I'm looking at these pictures and I'm thinking, I think I want a rental here. I think I need a house. So let's put in Zillow and just ask, can you find me a nice little property while I'm down there? Because I think I want to go to an open house while I'm there for the weekend. Awesome. George, to answer your question, I'm not sure why the number 3, magic number 3. I think right now, my guess is that a lot of these plugins are coming from third parties. And so it might just be that more than 3 is too much technology competing at once. And it might just kind of make things, the wires get crossed and it's not as accurate. But for right now, it's 3. I found that having 1 definitely works. 2 works really great. And 3 can work really well together. So I definitely encourage playing on with more. Yes, there is a mobile app for ChatGPT.
Yes. So let's talk more about
let's
apps, and then I think you're going to show us how to use 2 at one time.
Yes, absolutely. So George mentioned earlier using it for SEO. So something that's interesting is if you use competitor PPC ads plugin. If you use that plugin and you plug in and you type in find PPC for the website, insert website there, suddenly you are going to get a list of all of the keywords.
So we decided to jump over the pond. We didn't want to give any competitive advantage here. So we just picked a random law firm in the UK. But as you can see, we said, hey, find this URL. And boom, look at all this information. That's super, super valuable.
Absolutely. And so just like
Yeah.
Colleen mentioned, we can use two at once here. So something that's come up a lot in these webinars is questions of just, can I export this? Where can I bring this? So you can now download it as a PDF. So you can also enable a PDF exporter. And so you'll notice this chat is super intelligent. I didn't need to retype a question to say, okay, taking these words, then export this. I
Yep.
just said, export it, do that to a PDF. And suddenly this is what you get out. So it's a great way that you could get a PDF. Now, granted, is this going to be formatted in a really pretty way that maybe you would have done? No, not necessarily, but it's going to create that PDF for you quickly that you could then send off via email or to a client.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's not a word exporter yet, but I definitely recommend checking weekly because they're coming out so fast that I imagine that's coming soon.
I'm pretty sure there's a mobile ChatGPT app for Android as well.
It is for Android as well. Yep.
Agreed. A word exporter would be very helpful.
Absolutely. This
They're
one,
probably listening to us right now in this world. So
Yep.
it'll be here next week.
it'll be coming out soon. This personally is one of my favorite plugins. It's called Link Reader. So I plugged in a Supreme Court decision to see what it would give me. It was kind of I tried to stump it because it's a PDF, but it's also a website link. So I wanted to see what would happen. So I gave it a case. As you know, they're usually about 80 to 90 page long decisions, which are TLDR. We don't have time to read that
Yes.
much here. So I plugged that in and asked it to create a summary for me. And suddenly it is reading that PDF and creating a summary for me. I definitely recommend checking, making sure all the case details of the people who are filing the case, the complaints, the plaintiff, the defendant, all of those names are accurate. Then you know that it was
Yeah.
pulling from the right PDF. That's your extra due diligence there. But it helps summarize this in a way that is significantly faster than reading 90 pages.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which brings me to my other favorite tandem.
Yes.
So using the plugin Show Me. So I know a lot of times we want to create visuals for visual learners,
Yep.
such as myself.
Me too.
Helps you understand things a little bit easier. Sometimes you want to present it in core. So you could type in, create for me a visual that's based on the summary of the following. So you'll notice the system is smart. It knew I have to read a link. So I'm going to start using Link Reader and it's going to start creating it. And it also knew that it needed to create a visual. So it started using Show Me without me even having to ask specifically. So you're going to notice they redacted the names. They redacted the names automatically with Show Me. It put it in as XYZ and ABC, which is really great. We don't have
Yeah.
to worry about redacting. And so up close, you'll see here's a visual of that case. So you'll see
That's
it
great.
shows the decision tree of how it arrived. So what the facts of the case are, what the court's decision was, who they were in favor of. Really great way to get a quick 10-second
Yeah.
review of that case that otherwise you don't even have to read the bullet points for.
So anyone think they're going to try those? Anyone? We'll go on.
We'll keep moving.
We'll keep moving. We'll get you on that.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
OMG, yes.
Good. Great. We love to hear that.
Love the enthusiasm, Patrick. Okay, AI safety. Get your safety goggles
Yes,
on.
absolutely. So for the big bucks, $100 Amazon gift card. We're gonna have a 7-second timer on the clock. So first correct answer wins. This logo represents which organization? Let's
There you
see.
go. All right, let's see. Look, okay. We'll help you, Todd.
Let's see. We're going,
Looks like
and it looks like
Brave.
Brave got it.
Yeah.
Center for AI Safety. That is what this icon is.
So the logo is the ChatGPT logo, is it not?
It looks so similar.
This is why I got this is why I downloaded the wrong app in the chat store.
Yep, George is on the same page
Yep.
as you, Colleen.
Yep,
It's really confusing. There are a lot of apps that look really similar and the branding is super close. So the Center for AI Safety is a nonprofit that is recently created. It has not been around for a very long time, but they do some really important work. So they are in charge of, they research AI behaviors. They advocate for AI safety. They help teach the general public about how you can use AI, how you can help do it responsibly and in a way that helps scale in a good way for society. And they also use this research that they do to provide some insight for the government. So when they do panels in front of Congress and they want to get some more insight into how are people using AI, what are the sentiments around AI, that is some of the info that they use. And so they really want to improve the reliability and the security AI, and they want to make sure that as we scale AI, we do it responsibly.
Yeah.
Which leads to something that you might see around in the news is just that there are over 350 members of major tech corporations that signed and committed to being part of the Center for AI Safety because they recognize that it is such an important responsibility.
I don't
really
know
have
any
within
of
tech.
those people.
Yeah, you might recognize some of those faces. Third one on the right might look a little familiar. But these are all some really reputable folks who we trust with a lot of the technology that they've created historically, and they are going to be on the forefront of helping ensure that this is done right. Which brings us to,
oh, how can you use AI in your practice? Well, we've already heard from George, we've heard from Todd, so we already know that we're using AI in our practice, which is fabulous. We just wanted to highlight 3 lawyers out there, 3 firms that are using AI, just so you could see how they're using it and why. So Mitch Jackson is a litigator out of Southern California. He was on a webinar, I think last month or so I saw, where he was talking about how he used ChatGPT to write a book. Him and his son, Garrett, wrote a book about ChatGPT, and boom, they started selling it on Amazon. Then I'm looking around, I think 2 days ago, looking at the CleoCon coming up in October. And who do you think is presenting on AI, guys? Mitch Jackson. So that's a really good way that he kind of said, okay, I'm going to prove my dominance in this area. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to become an expert. I'm going to speak on it. So that's one really cool way, one path he took to use AI to build a better business. You don't have to use it to, obviously, you can use it to save time, but you could also be creative in how you use it. The next company, I don't think anyone's ever heard of. They're this very, very small firm out of Florida called Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan is on the forefront of every cutting edge technology trend. And this commercial they put out last year, they started to buy billboards in the metaverse. And we came across this commercial and thought it was absolutely genius and wanted to share it with you guys.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. As millions flock to the metaverse, many are experiencing unnecessary pain and suffering, terrible car crashes, frightening trip and falls, and on-the-job injuries. Our army of over 800 attorneys and 4,000 support staff have recovered billions for clients just like you. Injured? Just dial #law. That's all. Morgan & Morgan, America, and now the universe's largest injury law firm.
So again, just another example of how a firm is really trying to step out there and try something very new. Billboards in the metaverse, I think they are probably the first legal law firm to be doing that. Up next, podcasting. I know a lot of us listen to podcasts, have guests on podcasts. We were listening to the Chris Video podcast, which is a phenomenal podcast, and he had Eric Farber on there. Eric Farber was talking about how he's using ChatGPT in his firm. And again, this is a great way for Eric to not only get his name, his brand out there, but his feedback, and in hopes that he could help other lawyers like himself. So as you can see, the conversation was about how ChatGPT will change the way we operate, because in generative AI, it's all about language. So again, those are just 3 examples, use cases of how people in your industry right now are using AI. Whose mind's ready to explode?
just gave a lot of information.
I know.
there.
We went slower, I feel like.
Yeah.
We helped you out. We usually are very fast. So we have no emotion in this room right now.
Oh.
None. Who wants to feel like this? It's almost Friday.
Hopefully everyone's already feeling like this.
Yeah,
Maybe
maybe.
that's why.
So again, we want to talk about AI until forever. I've had invited Chad here as well, because Chad is going to be spearheading our interactive AI business builder workshop. It's a 2 to 3 hour workshop, all virtual. It's free. And we're here to talk about how you can use AI to help build a better business. Now, we're not saying you're going to go write a book. You may, we can give you that guidance, but we can talk about the basic ways to use AI. So with that said, we are going to be giving away 10 spots for this interactive class. If you are interested, please click the link in the chat. RSVP, we will be taking, we'll be doing a few courses over the next few weeks. Chad, maybe I can tap you in to say hello and maybe talk a little.
Yeah, the key is, I mean, we've gained a lot of knowledge here with AI and how powerful it can be, but how do you apply it to your firm? And so we all know the phrase and have heard the phrase, the confused mind does nothing. And we've all experienced that before where we get confused and so we shut down. So the goal of this workshop is to not only help you understand AI, but get really specific on things you can do to immediately inject them into your firm so you can experience growth. And so that's what we're at Lawyer.com. We're committed to growing your firms and to getting you to where you want to be. And this workshop is another piece of an opportunity for you to come in and go, okay, this is where I want to be. And this is how AI is going to help me get there. So.
Absolutely. So listen, we hope to see you there. Like you said, we'll be running a couple classes and it will be, it's also a great way to network with other peers who are learning with you. So with that said, we're going to turn it over. We'll leave the screen up, but anyone have any questions? I will say next week, for the next 2 weeks, we are going to be doing an Ask Us Anything webinar where Annie and I will be taking your questions. So if you have any good AI questions, we're here to answer them. It's kind of and it will make it fun, 4th of July freedom themed. So please join us over the next 2 weeks as we explore anything you want us to. And yes, if you have not gotten a response to the webinar, we will make sure that we follow up as soon as this session is over. Okay, Adam's
can I just interject real quickly? For those of you that have signed up and you have listed in, this was the last segment or the last webinar that we were doing specifically with AI. So at the close of this webinar, that's when we were going to reach out to all of you. And so some of you are like, yeah, Chad, I'm ready to go. I'm excited and love the excitement, love the commitment. And just so you know, you'll be getting notified here shortly.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for your, we're so busy focusing on what's happening in AI that, it's hard to keep up with everything.
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry.
So Adam, your question is really great about whether Amazon will eventually integrate AI into Alexa. Really great question. I think that is definitely in the works. They haven't revealed any of their plans. Actually, they just got slammed with an FTC lawsuit yesterday, so they might be allocating funds to a different area than they maybe thought about originally. But the biggest thing I think with integrating in Alexa and Amazon in general is they are in a lot of people's homes, hearing a lot of conversations. They have a lot of data points and research on what people could use AI for. And so I imagine I could definitely see a future where Alexa is involved in the healthcare space as well. Perhaps you recognize that you're asking a lot of questions about being sick. Maybe Alexa schedules a doctor's appointment for you or does things like that, that it's really your virtual assistant in your home. I could definitely see that.
Well, we've talked about that, right? Like we're not that far off. I know this is crazy. People are gonna be like, you're nuts, but we're not that far off from having our own like robot that's hanging out with us all the time. That's like, oh, Annie, I don't think you don't look so well. Should you go to the doctor? Hey, Annie, I think you need to have some fun. Let's go dance. So we're close to that. So, and Alexa, with all of the data they have, could play a very, very big part in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an Apple Watch wearer. I always think about Apple Watch, like they have fall detection. They're even sending me a message saying it looks like you might have fallen. Like they're using AI in a lot of really great useful ways. And so I imagine Alexa will definitely adapt that as well.
So good resource examples of lawyers' use of AI. So when we do our webinar next week on Ask Me Anything, we are going to specialize and really dig into the different types of AI in the legal industry, because that's going to be very important. We're also going to dive into that into the Interactive Business Builder course, because we want to show you what's out there. A lot of these programs are in beta right now, so they're not ready. but we're going to show you where you want to be.
Absolutely. And I think that something to consider is also practice areas. So what might be working for one attorney might not be the best fit for you. And so we're really mindful of that. A lot of the AI products available are for contracting, and which is phenomenal. Everyone writes contracts and needs to write contracts. But for personal injury attorneys, for example, and having medical chronography, those are different needs that still could really benefit from AI. And so that is something that we are going to dive into moving forward for sure. Stephen, really great question of why does ChatGPT confabulate? Is there a solution? So it is a bit of a technical answer as to why it does this. It goes back to that original quote about making the next most likely sequence of words versus a true statement. So the base level Eli 5 version of how this works is that you ask it a question and the system scans the entire internet, the entire interwebs, billions of documents, and it says, okay, you asked me a question about what to do in Arizona. And I know that I have seen about 2 million responses about what you should do in Arizona. So I'm going to start formulating the next best sentence based on the probability. And so it's really a probability game. That's why sometimes you might get a different answer from someone else, because that is sometimes why those false answers come up.
Why so much effort into making information up?
I think that it's a really great question. It sells it really great. It's the best salesperson you'll ever meet in your life. You just be like, this is a real case. And as soon as you say this isn't a real case, it says, I'm really sorry. That's not accurate.
Oh yeah. It's fun. Try to play hangman with ChatGPT, because as of last week, it was terrible. And it was like, oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. That word is made up.
Yeah. So it'll apologize to you.
Manners are important.
As to why it goes through the effort, I think it really does go back to that developer mindset. They're not thinking true or false in their when they're making this model, when they're designing it and writing the code. They're just thinking create an answer, then job done. So it says,
what's the next probable word that's going to create you the answer?
Exactly. The developer, the creator's goal was someone asks it a question and it gives you an answer. Doesn't have to be the right answer, but it gives you an answer. And so now we have a lot more people who are coming in saying, we need it to be the right answer. We don't know why you let it be the wrong answer. First off, we're going to regulate that. So that's definitely something that I imagine a lot of regulation will come to be, just to ensure that we're doing due diligence in the tech sphere to keep the public safe.
Well, I think with that said, guys, we will, we got to get started on our AI interactive business builder. So if you have RSVP'd, we will be in touch. If you have not, please RSVP to learn. It's a 2 to 3 hour free course, intimate deep dive into how AI will impact your business. Please join us next Thursday for Ask Us Anything. It is going to be a half-hour webinar and you guys are going to lead it. We're going to have fun games, prizes, but your burning questions, we are going to do our best to answer. So with that said, guys, I think we are going to say good afternoon and thank you for joining. Have a great weekend and we'll see you next Thursday, guys.
Yes, thank you all for coming. Happy kickoff to summer.